Hey, hey, hey.
Hey,
Hey,
hey.
hey, hey. Uh, well,
Yeah, how we do? What is this? This is
Uh,
episode
I'm
what,
just
4?
on fire,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
Episode 4. Mystery Method or
How
Madness.
much?
Four.
Yes, it goes by quickly. Episode 4.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yep. So we start with what? We'll start with wait, hold on, I can't find it. The Tallawah
What you say?
Table. The Tala, what you say? I'm just
What you
making
say?
it up. Yes,
Yes.
yes. Awesome. So,
Mhm.
we got some feedback. Niels.
Yeah, we did. We did. I have a colleague who is a visual artist in China, and he's been watching and listening fervently. So he says of episode 3, I took an embarrassing amount of notes that made me feel like a complete nerd. That's okay because we're all
Yay.
We like the
big
nerds. We like.
nerds, right? Either way, I appreciated how the conversation flowed so effortlessly from something casual to something quite serious and deep. I particularly enjoyed hearing the takes done by down to earth intellectuals. That's us. Speaking past, right? Yeah. He says, I had multiple takeaways from this episode. Chief of them all was the term festival, what it meant and its place in a post colonial classist environment like Jamaica. Really insightful and rich conversation that I found quite edifying.
Bless up yourself.
Nice.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
And yeah, he continues saying he's truly grateful for you three having these dialogues and expanding the broader consciousness for those who might be interested and those who might not know it yet.
Mhm.
Truly a service to your country and humanity that I hope humanity and history will reward in due measure before your time.
Thank you. Thank you for that blessing. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes. That was pretty cool. And then there was another thing. Another little thing came up.
Yes, this is from a past student of arts management, Imani, who I knew when she was a student and helped to mentor a bit. And so she's been listening, and particularly with Festive Bad episode 3. She says, "Big up to Nilay Banks and the rest of the crew. Great conversations. Highly recommend." Yeah,
Nice.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
man.
Thank you. So we shared a question when we knew what we were going to talk about.
Mhm.
So and we got one response. Yay, people! Thanks for really participating when we ask a question. We need more of you to respond. You're reprimanding them. Um, let's look at let's look at the response before we even go into on the
Put
table.
it, put it on the table. Put it on the tabletop.
Put it
The
on the
response.
tabletop first.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Well,
So we'll go into that, and then we'll look at it. All right, cool. Here we go. Let me see. All right. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yes. So, all right. So we had asked this question. Um, what is your creative
Nice,
process? Which is
nice,
basically,
nice.
what we're talking about. And so Leontre responded, I love making my leather and wood bags. Every bag is unique, and I enjoy the process from engraving the wood to making the key ring. And I think I responded, what comes first for you? And first she chooses a leather that calls to her, and that usually sets the tone for the rest of the design. So it shows her thinking process with that mode of creation. Because Leandra is also, if it's the same Leandra I'm thinking of, she's also a musician, a singer.
mm,
So
Mm.
yeah. So
mhm.
yes, so we're talking about method, mystery, method, or madness, which is really
Mhm.
we're asking about this creative process.
Yeah.
Is it a mystery? Is it really a process, or is it are we just nuts? Um,
I think the latter, the last latter.
yeah. Sometimes
Um,
it's a combination, eh?
Yeah, I mean, it is for me not a one thing. And like Leontre, oftentimes the material itself kind of tells me how to treat it. You
Right.
know, most of my art making is in the dance realm, but I do some teeny tiny films on my phone sometimes, or I do write poetry sometimes. Sometimes I make up little ditties. I'm not a songwriter like but the treatment of the thing sometimes comes from the thing itself. As against, there are other times when I have a concept and it's concept first, but then sometimes it's really just the material itself that tells you how to treat it, and then you just have to follow it, and the process evolves out of that you know
Yeah.
Mhm.
Same for me. Sometimes it's big concept, big idea. This thing comes to me like it's dying to be born as something through me.
hmm
And then there are times when it's something that has been commissioned work. So
right.
Yeah.
I'm asked to choreograph on a company, or I'm asked to do a particular piece of work or piece of writing. And so the process of getting to production or of getting to creation or through creation is different each time. But I would say that there are set processes that I follow. One process for when I am creating for other people, meaning asked to create for other people. Another process that I follow when it's something trying to be born through me.
Mhm.
And then there are other processes that I follow when a combination of both, but I'm trying to help young artists or young creatives to do what I do, or so it's a teaching process. So I'm facilitating their process as part of my process. So there are various ways in which it occurs for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think the concept, that the big concept sometimes comes even for parts of the arts that I'm not necessarily, that's not necessarily my forte. Like
Mhm.
I will get a big concept even for choreography when I'm not a choreographer, and I will try and
Mhm.
communicate it to one of you, or to someone else. Like, oh, this is what I've seen. Do you think that can work? Kind of thing. I think it definitely is a variety of ways, and
Mhm.
there are a variety of ways that I have a process when I'm working on my own. But then I also have a different process with each person that I collaborate with. Like when I collaborate with Neela, it's a completely different process, and it also depends on what we're doing. When I collaborate with you, Michael, and again, it could be several different types of processes,
Mhm.
and it depends on some of the things you said. Are we doing this for someone else for a
Right.
specific brief? Is it something that we're just trying to give birth to, among us or between us or whatever? And then there's always the push and pull of whose idea takes the lead at what point,
Mhm.
which sometimes can be frustrating and exciting and interesting
But
also.
isn't it interesting how um, being an artist in a process of create it facilitates unity, it facilitates compromise, it facilitates community, because generally speaking, we all want to have our ideas be the dominant idea, or the one that comes out because alpha nila. Yeah. I think so. I think that that kind of process where you're working with somebody is a really healthy one, and truthfully, it's not only when you're co-creating with people who see themselves as creatives, meaning a choreographer or a director or a writer and stuff like that. When you're really working with a dance company or dancers, you are co-creating with them, no matter
Yes.
what.
Yes.
You have all of these ideas in your head. The fact is, when you put it on their bodies and they do something with it, they are co-creating with you. There is something that they are giving. It's not just a matter of,
Mhm.
back in the day, we had some artistic directors, and we're calling their names, would say, like, guys, you're just paint. You're just paint right now. You
Yeah.
guys, I need you to be a sponge right now, and those things it's good to get people in a frame of mind that I am supporting a process,
hmm
but also not so good in that the person who's a dancer or the actor also need to know that they are part of the process and they're facilitating the process back ways in a different way, you know.
And I think sometimes it depends on it could depend on how the person who is facilitating, the main facilitator, their creative process. Like there's some people who will come into a space like if they're working with dancers or with actors, and then try and create then. And there's some people who do a lot of creating before, and they bring the stuff that the structure and everything that they have. So sometimes they need to get through the process of communicating that first before they can take feedback. And you know, it depends on who they are. You know, sometimes they can take feedback as they go, but some people, you know, it's just like with you know, when people are in music, if they're doing something, you're orchestrating something, and you're writing all these notes and all these things down. You really are going to expect them to be reading the notes. If there's a mistake or something that they suggest after they've gone through it, then you might take that on, and you know, you might take on things with expression and stuff. But the idea is almost full sail coming, you know, coming to the orchestra. You're not expecting them to make up parts, you know.
It's interesting because I used to always cuss myself, especially when I was starting out as a choreographer formally, right? That I needed so much time. And I need a lot of time because I use a lot of devising. You know, me come from improv. So I work along with the dancers a lot of the times as devisers, as co-creators. But it can't always be all the time. So I have friends like, for example, Shelley and Maxwell. Shelley come with her book, you know, and Shelley Ann's book has everything down to the T. And when you learn that, you wonder how come she didn't need 300 bodies to figure this out, but she has it all worked out. We just all have our different ways of doing it. But even as a deviser, there are times, as Michael says, when I have to get a thing out because I have, for that snapshot of a moment, worked it out like maybe Shelley would have or another kind of choreographer like that would have. And I just need to see what it would look like before anybody else can jump in and offer anything just yet. They're to know that there's also that aspect of the process with me when they're working with me. So you're not mute, but at this particular time, I need you to. And it's funny because when I was a younger dancer, you know, and Dr. Monica Lawrence, who was the artistic director, still is, of Stella Maris Dance Ensemble, you know, one of my mentors when I was growing up and thing. And she would come with the thing. But because we were always encouraged to drop a thing in and talk, and we felt very free and stuff, sometimes we would just matter because she want to get the thing done in a certain, she want to see you do the lift on 5. Just do it on 5 now. Don't tell her about 8. She know that 8 come after 5, but you want to see it on 5. And then she'll get short with us, be like, so what she going to for? You know, but we have ideas. So it's really understanding the balance. And I mean, you as a facilitator can set that up from the get-go. I do find though, and maybe I don't know what part of me this is. You'd call it the alpha part, Michael Holgate. But I find even a dance space, especially out here, can easily shift to a chaotic energy jumping around the place. If people don't understand, if dancers don't understand what moment they're in within the rehearsal process and what purpose they need to be in within the rehearsal process. Not to say you need to be a tyrant, but there are ways in which I have seen and heard, and I've been involved in as choreographer, I've been involved in processes that have been so much more distressing creatively because everybody's opinion has to be heard at the time. My space, I am not an AD. I can't just jump in and say, I mean, some choreographers do, but that's not my personality. And say, ka, right? People just, you know, feel comfortable enough to just keep talking and asking and this, and then you don't get anywhere. So it really is, I don't know, you as a maker, you have to take charge of your space, but you also need to know what your processes are. And I think also brave enough to say, hey, this is not my process. Here is how it goes. And you can remind people about that as you continue working with them.
Yeah, that's how it works for me too. There are certain spaces, I ain't calling no names because, you know, but there's certain spaces that when I go into that space, I say, I know what I'm going to say. I know I'm going to say art is not democracy right now.
Right.
It's not democracy right now. You don't have to like what I'm doing. You don't even have to understand what I'm doing.
You just have to do it.
Because at this point, I don't need that in my
Got
process, right? And sometimes I do, but in this time, I don't. And what you find is that, especially with students who are themselves learning to be creatives, they are learning to be the paint or the dancer or the singer or the actor, and they have opinions and they want to share those opinions. But in that moment when you have been called in to do certain types of work, it's not time for their opinions. And even what's even more interesting is it's not even time for their questions. Questions can be a thing I've found when you're in your creative process. Questions can become this destabilizing, disempowering, distracting thing. You go, all right, do this for me, please, or say blah blah blah, or give me something, or I want, what is the power dynamic here? I want to feel like you are blah blah blah. And they'll say, but sir, why don't I? All right, and sir, exactly what do you want me to do in this moment? I said, do what you think I said. I do that a lot with people. I say, do what you think I said, because if I have to stop to remind you what I said and break down what I said and tell you why I said it, and then tell you, oh no, this is exactly what I mean, as opposed to that, then very often a whole 2-hour session goes off and you've got nothing done. Whereas if they do what they think you said, you say, oh yeah, that works, or you say, no, it doesn't work, and you can move on. And one of the other things I like to let them know is that sometimes what I wanted you to do is not what you did, but I like what you did because that is a part of process. Yeah, so that's what that obtains for me too.
I've been in situations where I've tried to be super flexible and super, give me a feedback, and you really kind of have to know the people you're working with to present that situation to them. Because if they're going to be, kind of willing and then change their mind every 2 minutes, and thinking that their opinion is going to be taken on every 2 minutes as they change their mind, then you'll never get anything done. And I know me, and I know me like structure. And so I think more often than not, I prefer to have some kind of a structure, even if I can make flexibility within that structure. There is some kind of a framework and a structure that I'm working with. So this is how it's going to begin or whatever. Like if it's a song, I might create a basic track or something that has some rhythm and some parts put in, and then maybe I can get suggestions for the other parts or feedback, or I see what's happening and I say, okay, we can do this or do that. Even stuff like Mike, like when we were working on Chill, that remember the first season of Chill we were working on, and I was doing music and stuff, and there was a process that I preferred because of, and it was more because of, I guess because of what has established in terms of music with film and that kind of stuff that I was aware of, because I knew it worked. So I kept communicating that to you, if you remember,
Yes,
and now. Yeah, I know the second season it's better for me because I think you and Conroy took on what I was saying and kind of went that road. So it's much easier, it's much quicker. Like you will give me that, you get those things back quickly, because of it. There's no back and forth too much, going, okay, maybe not this, let's try this again.
Yeah, betweens and
Yeah.
You know what I think? I think that many people, especially those who are looking from the outside, because I mean, people, I think in the past, we've had this experience of the creators, the creatives, just like going, pa, idea, da da da, chap, 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 da, which doesn't look like it's structured, right? It doesn't look like it's structural. And a lot of people think that if you have structure in your process, you're not really creative or you're not really artistic. And it's a similar thing that people think about improvisation too. So you ask somebody to improvise and you just say, just do what you feel like. You're not going to get anything out of them. You have to create some sort of framework. You have to do some kind of structure, some set of agreement, something to work around, do what you feel like within this box. You'd be surprised what you get because you've given them something to work against, right? And I mean, even the use of tools. There are moments when that spark is not there, even for something that was a big, wonderful concept for you that you loved and you could not sleep because it was so exciting. And you write out this. Sometimes the material, the work in the studio is just not coming together. And that's where you draw on the tools. I mean,
Mhm.
And
big up Mrs.
techniques.
Record and techniques. I went big up Mrs. Record for teaching me that these dance composition things. And every time she said to you, learn the rules and then break them. I'm like, no, I don't want to learn the rules. But it's, when you know how to use the tools to make something out of nothing, sometimes that empty part, that empty creative, non-sparky part, is the best part of the work, or it becomes your most favorite part of the work because
Mhm.
you use a couple tools of manipulation with the thing, and before you know it, just a movement becomes an idea and it becomes a concept itself.
Yeah.
So being able to work with structure and being able to work with tools is a very, like, I think for, especially for those on the outside of a creative process. And I would even say some of the dancers or musicians you work with are kind of on the outside of that creative process, unless they're co-composing with you in a certain kind of way. To them, it may feel like, oh, this person is just so like by the book, or no, it is a part of creativity also. Yeah, it has to have a container, you know.
Yeah, and I think that what's important is for us to have a process of working with people and helping them to understand our process, you know.
Yeah.
And not to say that people are tools, but sometimes that's what they really are. They are
And it's
supposed
okay.
to, yeah. And recently I went into a space that I'm supposed to be working with something new,
Mm.
and I started, and there was nothing coming. Nothing, absolutely nothing coming. So what did I have to do? I had to realize that, okay, so this is a space that I need to create in,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not a space that sparks my creativity.
That's
So I had
right.
to go back to a space that sparks my creativity. I went to Ashe,
Mm-hmm.
pulled 3 or 4 of my dancers together, same music, same everything, and I just started working with them
Yeah.
because they're used to me. I am used to them. They know when to give, they know when to take, they know when to push me. They know when not to ask any questions. They know not to laugh if I do something silly. They
Right.
know not to make up a face because I'm so vulnerable and open in the space that
Mm-hmm.
everything that they do affects me emotionally, especially in that moment. They know, just how to they just understand my process, and that makes it easier for me. And so I started doing stuff and it just flowed. And now I have stuff to take back into another space where I wasn't getting the kind of processed food, call it that,
Yeah. Mm.
that I needed in order to do the kinds of work at the kind of level that I like to work,
Yeah. There's a beloved songwriting teacher at Berkeley. His name
Mhm.
is Pat. And in some of his classes, I've heard him say, I'm not teaching you how to write songs. I'm teaching you these tools and techniques that you can rely on because they're tried and true. They're proven. They're hit making tools and techniques. So even when
Mhm.
inspiration doesn't come, you
Right.
can these tools and techniques as jumping off points or as structural
Mhm.
points until inspiration does come around. And I know a lot of people, especially, and we've had this conversation in many ways before. A lot of people in Jamaica rely on raw talent,
Yes.
and they put it on a pedestal, and are
Yeah.
not being trained. They put that on a pedestal as well. Oh, I'm not trained. It's raw talent,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it would take you so far and no more. It can take you very far, yes, but
When it
but
takes you far, Mike, is after you're working with yourself
experience.
as more talent becomes its own training.
Exactly.
Exactly. Experience
Yeah.
becomes the training.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you didn't have to take 20 years to do it. You could have done it in
Mhm.
4,
Mhm.
and then taking yourself even further.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to share that because of what Neela had said. But there's
Mhm.
another part of the process, part of the process I know I have, and it comes and goes. I'm acknowledging it. I mean, I have acknowledged it. There's a part of the process which is kind of like silence, really. And sometimes you say, okay, this is what you have to do, and you take in a lot of information, and you expose yourself to different things, different flavors, different textures, different rhythms, and then you're just kind of silent. And
Mm.
sometimes you feel like you're not doing nothing. It looks to other people like you're not doing anything, but inside, all these processes are happening, and ideas are sparking and dying and growing and coming,
Mhm.
being born and dying again, and
Mhm.
and then 2 weeks later, after you've looked like you haven't done anything, everything everything just farts out,
Mhm.
and it's like,
Mhm.
oh, here's the word, you know.
Yeah.
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 I am. There's a writer and art maker and social critic from Haiti, Haitian American, called Gina Athena Ulysses. And I've loved her like poetry and stuff from I was going to, I think, UE. Is that a UE or when I was in my master? But the point is, she has a technique, if you want to call it that, or an approach called ressemblage, which is Haitian, is Creole, for kind of like assembling. And in particularly in ressemblage, you are pulling together the persons and the energies and the things necessary for a particular ritual to occur,
Mhm.
right? And so for her gatherings of people to talk, who are selected to speak. It's not a conference or anything, it's a rassemblage. But
Mhm.
I find myself using that kind of way of gathering of ideas now in my work. So then I've returned to her theoretical and her practical work in terms of that, because it's like there's a calling to make up a particular work, and then a calling of certain kinds of things, images, pieces of music, ideas for costume. And if I try to rush it, it don't work. It's like I have to make it come and just put it down in a particular place, because then the next day another one is going to start coming for something else, and so I have to put that down in another place. And there's
Mhm.
a lot of percolating that happens as well with that. um it's really an assemblage. It's like the process is kind of like collage making in a way. And then so that by the time I get into studio, a lot of that already is done, whether I'm in studio by myself or I'm in studio with other people. Like those who have choreographed and most recently will tell you they're always going to see me with a scrapbook,
Hmm.
because I need paper that is blank and big, and that I can just carry in a bag, in a bag. And I'm not writing choreography. I write in thoughts, I drawing things, I write in notes about the music, something about formations, and everything that needs to happen, that's happening inside, is there.
Hmm.
Sometimes I
Mhm.
have cutouts of costume ideas, of moods, of that kind of thing, so that it's a document, but also it's a map for me to go back to. And because I've started recently doing so much of everything myself, like materiality has become very important to me. So like costume making as part of it, doing crochet as part of it, editing the music as part of it as well. It's a nice hub for me to be able to keep all that stuff so I don't get lost, because it really is like me just pulling all these various things. Um,
Mhm.
and then sometimes like there's so much Instagram information, right?
Hmm.
How I need to put that into the analog form. Like I need to write out some of those things in the analog form so I can do my artist statement. I find myself doing that, particularly within the last, let's say, 6 years or so. Very, very particularly. Before I would try to do that. But yeah, within the last 6 or 7 years, that has been the hallmark of whatever creative process that I'm dealing with, you
Uh,
know.
For
With some of
me,
the, oh,
go
sorry,
ahead,
go ahead,
man.
Mike.
Okay, so all right, so I love what you're saying, Neela, because so much of it reminds me of how I operate. You call it rassemblage.
Well, yeah, that's what Dr. Ulysses calls it.
And so for me, I think that maybe it's because I'm a writer.
Mm.
But for me, it's a scripting process. It's a I my notepads in my phone.
Mm.
This is every single thing. Once I start a project, I open a new space in my notes in my phone.
Mhm.
And then I just title the project and then I just start jotting. And I don't jot like this, thinking it through and stuff like that. I go about my daily business
Mhm.
and then something comes to me and I say, oh yeah, that's there. And I just jot it down. But for me, I think it's because I'm a writer. Why it's all so I don't even know. I don't look through magazines like you might do, Neela, or
Yeah.
search for those kind of
Yeah.
visual images to pull it together. For me, it's almost exclusively what I write down. Whether I'm doing a musical theater production, writing songs, or whether I'm choreographing stuff, I'm just writing it down, and I might even see a movement in my head. Somebody doing boom, 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 and all I write is shoulder, shoulder, chest.
And you remember?
And once I've written it down, I say shoulder, shoulder, chest, or I say John Connor turns, or so I just write, and my writing facilitates everything for me, whether it's music, whether it's choreography, whether it's a film thing that I'm working on, anything. And so yes. And then interestingly, I just feel like spirit works with me whenever I am creating. I kid you not. There are times that I will be typing something like I want to say the radio. I'm typing the radio is on, and immediately and the radio. I'm hearing something on the radio and it says on fire. The radio is on fire, and I write on fire.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like something is helping me to complete the process, and I think it's because I'm just so open to that process of creating not being something that I am doing, but something that's being done through me as a facilitator, as a co-creator. As spiritual beings, we often talk about co-creating with spirit, co-creating with God, co-creating with each other. And literally, once I get into a creative process, that's what it is that I feel like I'm doing, and a lot of it just comes through that scripting process.
So there's for me, there's been an ongoing process of just collecting ideas. I mean, ideas that come to me. So there's voice notes that I've had for maybe 10 years. There's voice notes of little voice notes of songs or other ideas. There's writings. And sometimes when I'm writing something, I start with an outline and I'll leave it. And maybe a week later I go, oh, let me flesh this out. Because the ideas come. But I as you talk about the assembling part, there's and as you're talking, I kind of identified that I do this because I guess I've always done it, but I never put it like this. So there's like a 3-stage process I have when I'm making some types of music, especially the folk beats and blues speak stuff. There's a 3-stage process within it. I don't think that's not the only process, but there's a 3-stage process within it where I'm sourcing and collecting. So I'm finding I'm finding different folk field recordings or rhythms or things that I like, and I'm putting that somewhere. And maybe even finding sounds like synth sounds or creating the synth sounds and putting that somewhere. Some chord progressions and I put it somewhere. They're usually all in the same place. And even some vocal parts. It could be a part of a verse or a part of a whatever, or the folk song if I'm working with a folk song. So I'm collecting all these things. There's this stage, and then once I've collected all these things, I now go into this thing of, let's call it birthing, where I'm using these things that I've collected to create 50. Each thing might be 50 other things out of that one thing, right?
Yeah.
So you have this whole thing, but I'm not going to use most of those things. But you're creating all these things, and you're probably gonna throw away 80% of it. And then after that is the parsing part and the selecting part. You say, okay, this will go here, this will go here, that will go here, that will go here, that will go here. And you end up, is the 10% of what you created you use, but is the right 10%. So there's that.
Interestingly, I read somewhere recently, I was trying to check it a while ago, fact check it, but they said that Michael Jackson would write like 200 songs to get to his 10
One
songs on an album. He'd literally write and finish producing 200 songs to get to those 10 songs that he says, these are the ones that we're going to release, And so it's interesting that it's not even like it's practice to get to the right thing. It is all of these songs want to be birthed. All of them. It's just that the one that people are ready to hear might not be that one right there. The thing that people are ready to see is, this is not it right now. And there's something that Neil has said in the past, that sometimes we need to shock people. Sometimes we need to let them see things that they're not ready to see as well. So and what's interesting is that I have revisited things that I wrote ages ago as a song that, as a teenager, I think I no longer that was, or as a
last year,
of course.
Yeah.
like stuff that I'd written before, and I said, oh, this feels right for this production, and
Right.
it makes sense, you know.
Right.
So yeah. We just have to keep going and working. But I want to ask a question. What in terms of process, what about it brings you joy? What about creating? What is in it in that process that brings you joy?
You know when, all right, it's going to sound funny, but you know when you're fumbling around in the dark with a plug and you're trying to find the socket?
And it shock you?
No, 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 no.
You finally find it, plug it in. You finally find it, go shoop.
And it finally goes. Shoo. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
is it can happen many times in a creative session. When you find that right word, you find that right sound. You see, like when I'm editing music and the thing just goes like so seamlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that's the thing. And I mean, maybe it's a high that you keep chasing, but I don't think it's a high. I think it's a signal that you're on the right path. That
Mm-hmm.
the thing that has been asking you to get born through you, that those whispers are saying, yeah, man, that is it.
This is it.
For me, that is, and that also works when I'm working with somebody else. When we've been working and trying to get a particular thing, or when I demonstrate something and somebody demonstrates it in the way that I love it, that feeling, that kind
Mm-hmm.
of, that plug, you know. Working with myself is also interesting with that because I'm working as dancer and I'm working as choreographer. And sometimes I'm seeing the thing in my head, and I'm trying to get it, and I'm trying to get it. And you say, when I get it,
Mm-hmm.
be a celebration in another place. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be my favorite part of the process, when the things, and even when it goes through a lot of trial first and you're ready to throw it away and you're just like, no. And you say, let me try it one more time. And you try it one more time and the thing goes off, whoop, and you say, ha. 2 hours later, ha. Yeah.
Well, I think for me, maybe what brings me joy with it is, well, I work alone a lot.
Mm,
With a lot of the stuff that I do is me alone. A lot of it, and it's just a thing of I very weird things make me happy. You know, when if I'm creating a sound and the texture emerges as just exactly what I was imagining it, I was like, yes, this is right. Or the
Mm-hmm.
evolution of the texture, it becomes what I wanted it to be, just right. Or the progression evokes some kind of nostalgia or some kind of thing in me that goes, oh yeah, that I like that. Even if it's something that I'd never heard before, but it makes me think of something that I've
right.
experienced before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, if soul wise, I feel that I'm communicating some kind of a story that I needed to tell. And it could be, I mean, maybe nobody else will appreciate the story, but it's a story that I need to tell at that moment. So I did it. I think sometimes when I'm working with other people, there's that, but there's also hearing what they come up with that gets me excited as well. That goes,
Mm,
"Ooh, this is nice. That fits
mm,
just
Mm-hmm.
perfectly with this." Like I've had that experience with you, Mike, many times when we're writing those drum mechanic songs, and you
Mm-hmm.
suggest either a melody or a chord progression. I don't know if I've
Mm-hmm.
ever told you, but I might tell you now. There are times when I go, "Ooh, that nice, man." In my head, I was like, "Oh,
Thank you, Michael.
yeah." So
Yeah.
and then you just kind of roll with it and go, "Oh, I see where it can go next," and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I think it's just this thing of creating this thing out of the ether, of something becoming tangible in some way, whether it's sound or physical or visual,
Mm-hmm.
out of the ether. Even when I'm editing stuff, and it doesn't have to be anything particularly creative like video. I mean, but if the flow and the story just feels smooth or whatever, it excites me. You know,
Yeah.
it really does. Yeah.
It's
But
that flow for me as well. The flow when you get into a space where you forget yourself.
yeah.
You almost forget what you're doing, but you can't forget what you're doing because it's what you're entirely about this thing. It's
Mm,
almost like you become one with the thing.
mhm,
And and then when you're working with other people, the other thing that brings me joy is when I'm working with somebody and something that I saw in my head is being done by this person,
mhm,
And I said, Papa Jesus. Then I saw that something could have nice, so
Yeah.
and whether it is that they've done exactly what I wanted, or they did something different and it just shocked me, or it affected me. And primarily what brings me joy is when something that started through a channel in my head has come back to me in a way which makes me laugh or cry or tear up, or and I'm seeing something that started here and it's coming back at me, and I'm just like, and I'm laughing or I'm crying, and that for me that's joy. That's joy.
That's a full
Yes,
circle.
absolutely.
Tell me something, because we are all analog babies, right? We're analog babies who were young when Atari just came out.
I was born digital. I was really digital. I was always.
I remember the shock of seeing my first cell phone. I was just like, what?
To me, right?
Yeah.
But we have the privilege of understanding the analog and really wanting the digital. So we love the digital thing too, right? So we can work both of them. We're not afraid of what comes to both of them.
Right.
But I'm wondering, in terms of technology, right? Like, what part does technology play in your creative process? And do you think that it takes away some of the mystery? Do you think that it takes away some of the visceralness of the process? How you use it, if at all?
I want to jump right in because I
Jump,
love the technology. For me, you know, like how you have these 10 fingers, and that's what you grew up with. The technology feel like I just have another 10, and they're still my fingers, right? Because being able to create these digital things on your laptop, and you can create all these exciting new things that you couldn't have done with traditional instruments or with whatever, and there's new textures and new kind of multimedia things that you can do. AI. I mean, working with generating these images with AI from just a text prompt, and he's like, "Yes, but that's exactly what I was seeing," and or maybe try this now, or do this and do that, and then you'd have to wait. You'd have to wait for 15 artists to do it in a week or whatever. But you're getting the ideas that's in your head coming, being realized almost immediately, and then you can springboard off that. And then sometimes even with the AI thing, it's just like with the collecting, and you might not use 80% of it. Some of it you'll never use the ideas that are generated if you're doing the AI things, but they're gonna be a jumping off point for you to create more things, or they're a prompt for more inspiration, But technology for me is just such an amazing thing for facilitation, for getting things out there that you couldn't have before, for finding an audience in new ways and in new places. Everything have a drawback. I just tend not to even think about the drawbacks to the technology because there's so much good for me anyway. So
well, I don't resist technology at all. I just wish it didn't resist me. As I am not the most technically savvy person on the face of the earth, and I really wish I was. I wish I didn't get so frustrated with certain types of technology. But once I've got it, it's just like in my system, as if it's, as Michael said, an extension of my 10 fingers. And I think that we just go back to the basics, writing with a feather and ink, and then writing with a pen, that's technology, and then writing with a typewriter, that's an expansion of technology, and then you go to typewriter and into the keyboard that's in front of you, and you can delete. The fact that you can delete, the fact that you can backspace without having to take out the whole paper, and all, that is technology. And you're writing this thing, the fact that you can undo,
right?
You've made this mistake and you've deleted your favorite 2 pages, and you can undo it and it's all there. The fact that you can tap the screen and get it and move it around, and so all of those types of things with technology supporting artistry is phenomenal. And so I don't resist it. If you think about like even Chat GPT and the fact that Chat GPT is now writing stuff for people, I count it as a blessing in the sense that there are certain types of writing I don't want to spend my time doing. If I'm doing a proposal for this great novel or this great film or this great whatever it is that I've written, my entire energy was spent in creating that piece of work, and I don't have the bandwidth for talking about that work in a particular way. Chat GPT can help me.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that I have somehow not done my work. It just means that I now have a facility to help me to put the work that I have done out there. Now, if somebody wants to take Chat GPT and write a whole book and call it their own, then that's a different types of thing. That's a different type of ethical dilemma. That's a different type of artistry, even, and I'm not judging it. It's just not mine. So,
but it all starts
this thing where use what works for you and don't use the rest.
Yeah.
But it starts. Everything will start with an idea anyway, and Chat GPT is not coming up with any ideas. You have to input something for Chat GPT to give you anything. In any of these AI things, you have to put something in
and
for
even
it to get anything.
Even the fact that I think when you could just take somebody a note, them singing and you take it and make this beautiful sounding
Pitch
thing.
correction, yes.
People were fretting that, so now people are not going to have to sing, and it did not change the music industry in the sense that we know when people can't sing. We know the quality and caliber anyway. It's
just accept it. We just accept it.
You might add this pitch correction thing on a note that don't even need it, and it gives it an effect, and all of these things.
It became a character, it became a whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's how I think about technology.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like the thing with AI that concerns me is the fact that AI is always learning. And there are ways in which AI can learn the things that are supposed to be your signature things, right? So whether it's your signature sound, your signature writing style. So there's that. And because the ethical part of it is so gray right now, that's my concern. Because I say, let me Chat GPT this proposal because I don't have the bandwidth for that. And I will edit it. So it will sound like me, but how am I using the prompts sensibly to get what the kind of fodder that I need to be able to work with? So I don't see it as a problem necessarily. It's just those ethical parts of it, and how we're going to work that out as a creative community globally. And just really thinking about it. But I mean, what I find like what technology has done for me, particularly the kind of technology that's accessible in your hand with a phone. And the kind of quality you can get is that it has expanded my choreographic ability. Like there are things that I can do with editing software that I can get on my phone that I wouldn't necessarily be able to do with a body at all. I can't freeze the body in the air. I can't triplicate myself in real life, but I can see it. I can create a solo that becomes a trio and it's just my body. I do one set of work and then I can do all this kind of, so for me, it's like another tool. As a dancer who is older also and who is not in as much training as she used to be in, not to say she can't, but you know what I'm saying? It also gives me an opportunity to still dance. And to play with it in a, it's like a way that just keeps expanding on itself. The possibilities are endless. The things that I can continue to do with the film as I get older are endless choreographically. You know what I mean? Even and when I'm making, a lot of people are doing this from before, but still using it in the space that I am creating in. If it's me one in my bedroom, me and my dog run a back, me I film it. Even that is the use of technology. Make sure you can look at it again and fix it within your own choreographic space, and you take that now and carry it into another space, and the things are exponential on top of themselves.
Even the live manipulation of it. Remember that thing we did, the discount time girl, where I was moving you with you with the camera and creating like kaleidoscopic stuff on the screen that you were interacting with, kind of thing.
It was so deep for me.
Yeah.
And for me, I love what you said, Neela, about your phone and stuff like that. My people afraid of me on my phone. My phone always out, and me I pay for all of the memory and storage that I can get because I want to capture everything. I want to collect everything.
Yeah.
Consistently going to be recording and editing and creating reels. And so what technology has done is it has given me the ability to be constantly creating, and there's nothing which gives me more joy than creating. Some people they like to go to parties, and I love that for them. I like to create. I love to create when I'm at home. Sometimes I don't even want to be, I love reading as well. I love watching a show, but I love being on my phone and just going through some of the footage that I collected that day. What kind of story can I tell with this? What kind of reel can I create out of this? And that for me is just life. It just keeps on giving.
So I have a question connected to this now, and for each of us. Regarding the technology, what are your go-to apps and software, either on the phone or laptop or wherever? Go-to apps and software that you rely on, that you're always going to, and you go to the most for what you're creating daily.
Me, I mean, I like Video Leap a lot. I can't remember what the other one that I used before, but I like Video Leap because of the format, and I like the kinds of updates that they have. And I mean, I have rudimentary understanding, so I'm not looking for something that's going to not be user friendly. It's really user friendly. And when I even see, like most recently at Dance Umbrella, I was able to see a video that I edited with Video Leap on the site, and it looked really good. The quality was, it translated really, really well. So I like that one. And for audio editing,
Audacity.
to me, Mikey Harris, one time, I bless you up every day for being so busy. You couldn't have edited a piece of music for me. So why don't try Audacity? Let me tell you something. Between Audacity and then GarageBand, sometimes it's just a joy to work with. Absolute joy to work with for me, and just kind of playing around. So sometimes I look on Google and try to figure out, okay, how does this thing actually work, or look in the Audacity help. But by and large, I always buck up, or spirit land me on a sound effect or a thing that is perfect for what it is I am looking for. I think those are my two main go-tos for the things that I do.
I wish that somebody could explain Audacity to me in a way that will make me understand it.
This summer we'll sit down, Mike. It's so easy.
Yeah, you've been saying that for like years, Mike. That not that we'll sit down, but you've been saying that it's easy, and it's just oh my god, my god.
Because it is because it's visual. The sound waves are visual, and me, I'm visual and auditory. So once I know what the pattern sounds like, then being able to splice it, being able to layer it, it makes sense to me. There's I forgot to say, there's a software called Isadora that I met when I was in Canada.
That's choreography.
Yeah, but Isadora, no, you see, Isadora tell you, say anything you do with Movie Maker and iMovie and them, so can I use iMovie too? Forget that. The mapping is mad. It's so good. I can't use it again though, because I haven't used it in a long time.
Wow.
It's almost like moving like vector stuff, and
I know those kinds of things. Yeah.
The things you can do with it, because also you can do live triggering with it as well. And so when I used it in 2013, I was for the first time experimenting with being in the studio, capturing live things, capturing my feet and whatever else it is, and then using Isadora to give me the kinds of effects. But it was completely different from any of the easier things to work with. That said, I'd need a tutorial again, but Isadora was really cool. Once I got the hang of it, it was really cool to use. But yeah, man.
The ones that I use consistently, Power Director.
Okay.
And I live with it on my phone. And I'm also using Filmora GoPro. My favorite is Power Director, because then I can the music that I can get, I pay for it, and so I get this music that I can add to my thing. And then of course and then when I'm done with that, now I go to captions, because I want to caption the reels that I'm doing and so on.
Right.
I used to use Unfold a lot. Unfold is you put these pictures and stuff together, and then you just put a post. And you can actually do reels with it as well. I don't use it as much anymore, but the Power Director and the Filmora GoPro, I practically live there, and then I just send it off to Instagram or TikTok or wherever. I wish I understood Audacity, so I'm counting on Mike to deliver me.
I can help
Happily,
you.
yes.
And I wish I understood how to use Photoshop.
Right.
I'm very good with Adobe Premiere Pro, and I guess I could do Final Cut as well. But I'm really an Adobe Premiere Pro kind of guy. But I don't hardly ever even go there because I do practically everything on my phone now. You know,
Okay.
and so yeah.
I also like because sometimes I do like the backdrop stuff for various pieces, or if I'm artistic directing something, whatever. I like motion array.
Oh,
Motion array,
yes.
because you get the
I have
video.
a, yeah, man,
Yeah.
I have
Sounds.
a subscription, yeah.
The graphics, the stills, and then I also like Epidemic Sound, because Epidemic
Okay.
Sound is really good for finding royalty-free music,
Royalty-free music, yeah.
and it's
So
not
is
and
motion.
motion array as well. Yeah, that's true. It does, but like for some reason, there's even some symphonic stuff and some really really lovely things come from Epidemic Sound as well. So when I'm making some of these projects, I go to those spaces, and I find the subscription is worth it
Yeah,
for me.
definitely. Okay, my list is gonna be long.
Of
But
course, world, I just gotta say that Michael Harris is the most technically gifted, technologically savvy person I've ever met in my life. Not even for an artist, just generally. Like, wow.
I just love it though. That's why. All right. So music, I and there's a few different things like Ableton for sure, Logic. I go to a lot, but there's some apps on my phone that I will go to just to create something quick and then maybe expand it. There's Reason Compact that I go to. There's Figure, which is another old Reason thing. And let's see, this app that we're using to record this StreamYard, which I for all these things. Love that and all the things. I used to use Photoshop a lot, but I use Adobe Express more because it's on my phone, and so any little graphic that I have to do, as we say, okay, what's the title, and in 5 minutes I can go on Adobe thing there and then generate 3 different versions of it and send it to you and go,
Adobe
you
or
like this?
Which one?
This is Adobe Express is what it's
All right,
called.
I'm gonna steal
And,
it
and,
right
and
now.
it's, and so if you have your Adobe account, you
Yeah.
you can get this on your phone, and it's part of it.
Okay.
So I use that all the time. So I'm creating some slightly animated things, posts, but also different, the YouTube thumbnails, the
Right.
the real
Yeah.
thumbnails,
Yeah.
the IG posts, everything. I just do that, and I can store my what do you call them, my logos on there, and just put them where I want them when I need them, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then I use, like, for the overlays for like this, I'll use Photoshop as well, but I can also use Express. What else? There's so much. There's
You
also,
use After Effects any at all?
I rarely do, but I do download from Motion Array. I'll download templates and different things for Final Cut, and then use that to help me edit different videos and stuff as well. So like the opening reel for this was done in Final Cut with a Motion Array template.
Okay.
And I get music as well, royalty music. So a lot of the music I source for Chill is Motion Array, Mike. Because of that. Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm motion some of it, and I edit it the way I want, or I might add stuff to it, or some things I'll compose new things. But
Yeah.
it's a and where else? What else? There's more. I can't think of it now though. but there's more. But yeah.
Like, for the kind of assemblage part of things, I found that I think WeTransfer has another, what do you call it now? It has another, I guess, like how Adobe has Adobe Express.
Another service. Okay.
I wish I remember the name of it, but you can collage things. You can create mood boards and stuff. You can have photos, images that you get from there. Like, somebody would have Pinterest, but it's particularly for creators. So I've used that before. Yeah, with good effect. Right. And I've done that and shared. And shared those images with dancers as well, so they can also understand what it is that is going on in my head virtually. They have it there, in terms of feeling and mood and that sort of thing. And interestingly, I will tell you this, good old Excel. Here's because when I have the time to pull the ideas together, then I try to pull them together in a way that makes it easier for me to be able to pull them from a document and apply for things. So right. So then, so it's not really creative, but in a way it is kind of creative because I have to columnize the aspects of the idea and kind of flesh out some of those things as well in a way that I can just quickly pull them and drop them into something else.
Hey, so people don't know how smart artists really are, People don't know how structured artists really are. People don't know how you have to be using right brain and left brain together, logic and reason and emotions.
And you have to be organized. You have to be organized.
People don't know
that your ideas to communicate with other people.
Exactly. How do you create an entire world in your head and then drop it on paper and people think that you are scattered? It's like even, especially the ADHD thing now, the ADHD craze, everybody who is a little or a lot creative, you get the ADHD title and me get it all the while because so if I'm in a certain space and I'm bored, I'm going to off in my head creating. I don't have time to be listening right now because I'm just really bored. I'm doing something else. I'm creating, and you look like you're distracted or you're gone off or you're gone somewhere else. No, I have something better to do. I have something better to do. I'm creating.
People do throw that label around a lot, and if somebody has not been diagnosed, you can't be calling them ADHD just because they are focusing on something else. But at the same time, we have been so educated out of being honest about those things. We have been educated to sit down in boring things. To smile at silly people. We're not making sense of all of those
stupid people, not just silly people, neither. Stupid
people. It's true. So then when being the artist, know that to save yourself, you need to focus on something else or leave. And Mikey Holgate, you taught me very, very well about leaving, and you're like, okay, yep, I'm done with this meeting. I know it's not done, but I'm just leave because
go to the movie and it not flow me. I'm gonna get up and leave. You don't sit and watch a whole movie.
Because what it does for you as an artist, it is so draining for you. Because when and I think other artists will say this too. I tell you, boy, I love being an artist. When you know you don't know, you cannot not know. You can't pretend say you don't know. As an artist, energetically, something shift. You can't sit down and pretend, no.
Yeah.
You need to move with that spirit that says, okay,
I really don't want to be here.
You don't. Because it affects your energy in a way that other people, it doesn't necessarily affect their energy. And if your energy...
whenever I force myself to be somewhere I don't really want to be, it's not pretty. It's not pretty in how I react to other people or just how I feel.
It's up to you, and your livelihood gets affected because you have to bring yourself back up in order to be able to do and make and assemble and those things.
Yeah, and with that said, I'm going to have to run away from this meeting.
Love it.
We're at time.
Yeah, we're at time, and it's not because I'm not having fun, because I'm like really, really having fun. But it's waiting downstairs for me right now for a session, and I am, them say I'm all right still, but I mean,
but you're conscious of it.
Yeah. I'm just so excited, and I love my life now, especially because of how not busy I am, but how involved I am in arts work, and I get to do that, and I get to get paid for that. And maybe our next session should be about the professionalism and professionalism in the arts, not just from the point of view of being a professional, but the fact that being a professional means you get paid and this is what you do for a living. So I think that we could talk about that next as well.
I agree.
Fans and friends of our show or podcast, tell me, do you think that is something we should be talking about next?
Yes, we'll send out the question.
Yes,
Anna, please respond. Anna, respond this time.
Respond.
All right.
Yeah. Let's want to begin.
Bye.
Bye. Later.
Like you play way out a while ago.
No, just a boom. Okay.